This is an absurdity. My house is Velaryon, the greatest power in the realm.
And I am your king.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm continuing my character spotlight series with a look at Corlys Velaryon, the Sea Snake. Like with the ones I did on Daemon, Aemond, and Alicent, I'll be looking at his portrayal on the show by Steve Toussaint, how it compares to Fire and Blood, and what we can expect for him in Season 2. So let's dive in. Now just like with the video I did on Alicent, I want to open with a comparison to the book version of Corlys. With Alicent, of course, there was a big difference between the source material and the show. In Fire and Blood, she was 10 years older than Rhaenyra and played more of a young stepmother's role, but on the show they were the same age and close friends. Now in Fire and Blood, Martin described the Velaryons as having white skin, ghostly pale hair, and purple eyes. On House of the Dragon, though, they have dark skin and dark eyes. The purple eyes is something that is also a characteristic of some Targaryens. They're supposed to have either purple or light blue eyes, but the purple eyes have never been depicted so far in either House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones. There are people that always want strict adaptations. Some were upset with the elimination of the age difference between Rhaenyra and Alicent, and also the change in the physical characteristics of the Velaryons. My approach with adaptations has always been flexible. As long as the heart and the intent of the story isn't damaged, I'm good. Sometimes, too, as was the case with making Rhaenyra and Alicent the same age, changes can make the adaptation richer and more complex. Coming into the series, those of us that read Fire and Blood knew that a big plot point would be the question swirling around the father of Rhaenyra's children. I think having the Velaryons with darker skin gave further substance to that claim, and it became blatantly obvious when you saw how the children between Daemon and Laenor looked in comparison to Rhaenyra's kids. So like with the elimination of the age difference, for me this departure from the book worked. I also really liked Ryan Condal's description of their decision to make this change for Corlys and his family. He said, quote, "I think the reason that it's been a successful choice is because it was thought out. It wasn't just done perfunctorily or to tick a box or to be seen as progressive or to be seen as somebody that's covering all the bases or anything like that. It's 2022. It's a different era than the shows used to be made in. We have an incredibly diverse audience that's not only across America, but in multiple countries that speak all sorts of different languages, that represent all the colors under the sun, and it was really important to see some of that reflected up on the screen. But I think simply because of the fantasy world, if we believe in dragons and shapeshifters and direwolves, we can believe everybody in the story is not white." End quote. I thought Steve Toussaint did a great job as Corlys. He was more front and center early on when Viserys was going through the process of choosing a second wife. The council scene when Viserys announced his intent to marry Alicent was delivered to perfection by all involved, and I loved the nonverbal moment between Otto and the Sea Snake. Corlys was also key in demonstrating how much of the realm viewed Viserys. Standing up so boldly in the council and not being afraid to demonstrate his lack of respect for the king's decision comes across at first as a bit impetuous. But then when we see him with Daemon, he shows a lot more deference and restraint when he receives pushback.
I will not have Driftmark beggared while our king idles himself with feasts and balls and tourneys.
I will speak of my brother as I wish. You will not.
When Viserys told him, "I'm your king," the Sea Snake turned around and left the council. But here, Corlys submits and demonstrates respect for Daemon and his position. And the pattern continues with Corlys and Viserys. When the king and Rhaenyra go to Driftmark to arrange the marriage between her and Laenor, Corlys doesn't meet Viserys when he first arrives. In fact, he even sits in his chair at Driftmark, making Viserys come to him before finally kneeling. Corlys pushes it all to the very edge because he doesn't hold the king in high esteem, and he knows Viserys will not challenge his behavior. In all these moments, I thought Steve Toussaint was at his best. But what also stood out was the close relationship Corlys has with his wife, Rhaenys.
We shall declare for no one. retire to high tide to be content with our grandchildren.
Jace, Luke, and Joff are claimants to the throne. Those boys will not be safe so long as Aegon is king.
Such a tight relationship is a rarity in the A Song of Ice and Fire world, where there are so many bad marriages, particularly among those in power, where most unions are arranged. One area where I had a bit of a problem with Corlys' character arc is when they had him go off to the Stepstones to fight for 6 years. This felt out of place, after they had already established such a close bond between him and Rhaenys. Now, some might say he did this in response to what he believes was Laenor's death, but 6 years away from a wife he truly loves doesn't make sense, even after the loss of his son. While Corlys is off screen for a couple of episodes, we get word that he had suffered a serious wound that many believed he wouldn't recover from. And this opens up the path for the worst character for me in Season 1, Corlys' younger brother, Daemon Velaryon. He was the one casting choice that didn't feel like a good fit, but he was fortunately dispatched quickly. A part of it, too, I think, was that the absence of Corlys from the story during this period didn't work. We needed some connectivity here, even if it was only a single scene of him in the Stepstones. A lot of it can be chalked up to the multiple time skips. It was most jarring for me when we leapt from the younger to older versions of Rhaenyra and Alicent, but some of this couldn't be helped with the wide expanse of time being covered. I thought, though, that Corlys' return was well done.
Your father's realm was one of justice and honor. Our houses are bound by common blood and common cause. This Hightower treason cannot stand. You have the full support of our fleet and house.
Despite how strong Steve Toussaint's performance was in his scenes in the final episode, it all felt a little uneven because the audience is left having to fill in too many gaps on their own. And like with other areas of the story, I hope they take their time in Season 2 and not just jump from one plot point to another without the characters fully progressing in their development to meet them. What I find most interesting, though, for Corlys in Season 2 is the potential for the return of his son Laenor. The bottom line is they have to do it. You don't pull a fake death, have both of his parents still alive, and then just have him exit the story. It's all too central to Corlys' character, too. We need to see him come to terms with what Laenor did and the mixture of joy, anger, and relief that he'll feel. There's a lot they can do here. And on a side note, you also have Sea Smoke, Laenor's dragon. He won't take another rider while Laenor's still alive, so you also have to bring him back to come to the assistance of Rhaenyra. So there's a lot on deck for the Sea Snake in Season 2. Steve Toussaint said in interviews that Corlys will be firmly in Rhaenyra's camp, not only because he sees her as the rightful heir, and the Greens as usurpers, but because of the death of Lucerys. Although he's not his family by blood, the Sea Snake still sees him as his grandson. I'll be continuing these character spotlight videos as we bridge the long gap to Season 2. At this point, we're probably about a year out until the premiere, with filming still going on now in the UK, even during the actors' strike. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you hit the like button. And if you're interested in more House of the Dragon, listen to Caraxes and subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you soon.